Shavua Tov, there's a joke told about a rabbi who had only one sermon, and it was about Parshat Korach. And so one other Shabbos, he came to a certain synagogue and was invited to speak, but the person who invited him says, as he gets up to the podium, to the Amud, he says to him, "But please don't talk about Parshas Korach, because that's not the Parsha this week." The rabbi angrily said, "You're telling me what to do? You're telling me what to do? You know who told the rabbi what to do back in the times of the Torah? Korach. And since I mentioned Korach, here's my sermon about Korach." So let's talk about Korach, because there's a question what parsha we are in. No, not what parsha we read, but what parsha we are in. Are we in BeMidbar, or are we in Korach? What do I mean? Well, in BeMidbar, we have a picture of Jewish unity at its finest. Each tribe has encamped at its appointed location, surrounding the Levites, surrounding the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and everybody is together and unified. In Parshas Korach, everybody is torn apart. Korach creates a rebellion, divides the people in a terrible fashion, and eventually will meet his punishment to be swallowed up by the earth. What went wrong between BeMidbar and Korach, and which parsha are we in? So let's take a look at the encampments of the Israelites and what is their significance. There are two possible explanations. Well, I'm sure there are more, but there are two main explanations for the encampments of the Israelites in this particular formation, to the fact that they had flags and the census that is taken at this point. The first one is simply military, that the Israelites are about to enter into the land of Israel, and therefore they need to prepare to fight those battles, and they encamp in a military formation. Indeed, the census is done from the age of 20 till 60, which is the age of military service. And indeed, the phrase al tzva'o, on his host, or on his army, as it were, because a tzava, a host, is also an army, is used repeatedly. So there are military terms in use here as well. So it seems to be a military encampment. And this is a significant thing. Obviously, we're about to enter to the land of Israel. Now let's take a little detour to a medrash that talks about the giving of the Torah. When God was to give the Torah to the Israelites, the nations of the world got scared. There was upheaval going on in the world, and they were afraid that there was going to be another flood. And they came to Bilam and they said so. God seems to be bringing a flood. And Bilam calms them and says, no, no, no. God is not giving a flood. He is giving the Torah to the Israelites. Hashem oz la'amo yitain. He's giving strength to his nation. And when the non-Jews heard that, they said, Hashem yavarech etamo b'shalom. May God bless his people with peace. What is this discussion between Bilam and the nations of the world? Why did they think at first there was a flood going to come? And then why did they bless when they found out that no, it was not a flood, that Israel was going to be receiving the Torah? So the great Rabbi Meir Shapira, the founder of the Daf Hayomi from Lublin, from a century ago, gives a beautiful explanation. He says there is one reason, according to the mindset of the Umot HaOlam, that there could be unity. That if there is a common danger or threat, people unify in order to protect against the threat. It's a temporary unity. It is a unity dictated by circumstances, and it is not true to the core. But that is military unity. There is an enemy, everybody gets together to fight against the enemy. If there is a danger, everybody bonds together in order to protect from the danger. And the nations of the world, when they sensed that there was upheaval in the world at Mount Sinai, coming from Mount Sinai, and they saw that the Israelites were unified as never before, Vayichan Sham Yisrael Neged Ahar, the nation of Israel camped as one man with one heart in front of the mountain, so they were afraid, oh, this is unity, that means there must be some danger, must be a flood on the way. And Bilam says, guess what, guys? No, this is a different type of unity. This is a positive unity, a unity at the core, to the soul. The nation of Israel is going to receive the Torah. And this was so impressive to the nations of the world that they blessed Israel. Hashem yavarech etamo b'shalom. Indeed, the Midrashim, when they see the Israelite camps, they praise Israel. They are impressed with Israel. So either this encampment is a military thing, which would imply the first kind of a unity in order to fight the battle against the Canaanites as they march into the promised land. That kind of a unity is a temporary, circumstance-driven unity. And therefore, at the beginning in BeMidbar, we needed that unity because we believed we were about to go and fight a battle. But after Shalach, after the sin of the spies, when we are no longer to immediately be entering the land, now it's delayed by 40 years, so then a fellow named Korach can start to complain and can start to be negative and can start to destroy that unity and bring about a rebellion because there's no longer a common enemy. They're not going anywhere. They're staying in the desert. That could be one explanation as to what happened with Korach, that Korach saw this entire encampment as being a military necessity. However, I believe there's a much more sublime significance to this encampment, and the commentaries also go in that direction as well. That this is not just to march into the land of Israel, but this is the nation of Israel preparing to march through the pages of history, bringing the divine presence to all of humanity and fixing the world. It is not a military battle, it is a spiritual battle. And there are a couple of indications of this as well. First of all, the census which is taken is not a normal census. In a normal census, you just need to know how many people there are. If the reason for the census is military, I just need to know how many soldiers I have here and there, and how many the enemy has, and then I can plan accordingly. But no, this census, even though it's done with a military objective, but there is something more significant, because it is done by the number not of people, but of names and families. We want to know who. I don't think that a general in a war needs to know that that's Shmulik and that's Itzik, but rather that I have, 50,000 over here and 30,000 over there. But if you count the names and the families, that implies something more significant. And indeed, some of the commentaries point out that the names of the second tribe in each of the prince of the second tribe in each grouping on all of the four directions has God's name in it. There's Nitanel, there's Shalumiel, there's Pagiel, and there is Gamliel. They have God's name in it. So there's godliness even in the surrounding of the Mishkan. Now, there is a big difference between also understanding the center of the Mishkan, the tabernacle, if it is a military or if there is something else. Huge difference. What's the difference? Because if it is military, so then the people on the outside are defending that which is on the inside. The inside, therefore, is more important, and it gains its protection from those that are on the outside, which means that the ones that are further away are more expendable, and that the ones that are further in are more important. And that is the basis for Korach's rebellion, because Korach is talking about importance. Who is more important, who is less important? And his argument is, Kol ha'edah kulam kedushim, everybody is holy, and therefore why should you, Moses and Aaron, and the priests and anybody, be any more significant than anybody else? Because he sees things in those terms. Who is on top and who is on the bottom, and it bothers him that he's on the bottom, so therefore he wants to bring down the whole thing. Socialism is an evil philosophy for this exact reason, because even though it uses very nice sounding phrases, equality and so forth and so on, it is predicated upon envy, upon being about those who are envious of others who have, they feel, too much. They wouldn't mind if they had the too much, but they don't like someone else having the too much, but that doesn't look good to come and say, I want to replace them as being the rich, famous, and powerful. That doesn't play well, so therefore they want to knock it all down and say we should all be equal. But at the end of the day, as George Orwell wrote, some pigs are more equal than others, pardon the expression. But that's the concept. So therefore, that is where Korach sees things. But if this is indeed not just a military march, but a spiritual one, so then all of a sudden the tabernacle in the middle is not that it's the most important and that the people outside are defending it, but the other way around, that the tabernacle is what is sanctifying the people that are around it, and it is protecting them. Now, to really bring this into sharp focus, I'd like to quote my teacher, Rav Aaron Soloveitchik, who explained a cosmic dance that took place in the pages of history. It's mentioned in the Psalms. It's a verse that says the following: Sharim kecholalim kol ma'ayanai bach, and singers and cholalim. We'll see what that is in a moment. All of my aspirations are to you. This verse, says Rabbi Soloveitchik, is portraying the dance of Jewish history. You have in it three types of participants in this dance. You have sharim, singers. These are the people who have the melody and the words. They know everything you need to know about this song, and of course the dance. Then you have the cholalim. Cholalim could be two different things, and Rabbi Aaron says both of them are true. One, it could be musicians playing an instrument called the chalil, which we translate as the flute. They have the melody, but they don't have the words. And then you could also interpret it to mean cholalim, as in dancers, in a machol, in a circle. A machol is a circle dance. So these people then, according to that interpretation, have neither the melody nor the words, but they are still participating in the dance. And based on this cosmic performance with the three groupings, the ones with the words and the music, the ones with the music but not the words, and the ones without either, there is a understanding of something which bothered Rav Aaron, and that is, we have in Israel a law called the law of return. The law of return means that anybody who is Jewish gets immediate automatic citizenship in the state of Israel. This is on the surface, a racist law. It makes sense that religious people should support this law because, after all, this is the land of Israel, it's the land of the Jewish people. But the founders of the state, many of them were staunch secularists who did not want a Jewish state. Jewish state maybe ethnically, but not culturally at all. They wanted to be a liberal, progressive democracy, and there are still people who have that opinion, of course. And they would therefore be, I would think, opposed to such a law which discriminates on the basis of religion and ethnicity. It gives citizenship automatically to Jews, but other people have to wait. So yet they supported this law. So Rav Aaron said very emphatically, he said, because even though a Jew may be distant from Judaism, there is still that spark inside, and they are still unwitting partners in the cosmic march of the Jewish people, the dance of the Jewish people throughout history. And therefore he says you have three types of Jews. The ones who have the words and the music, these are the religious Jews. They have the Jewish feeling, and they have the words, the Torah and the mitzvot. They are certainly participating. And the musicians don't quite have the words. These are the Jews who are feeling traditionally Jewish, but they may not be strong in their observance or knowledge of Torah, yet they are still participating in this. And then if we take the interpretation that it is dancers who have neither the words nor the music, these are the people who may claim no connection to Judaism, and yet they too are participating in this circle. And here's the important point for our parsha, because when you have a circle, each point on the circle is equidistant from the center of the circle. And who is at the center of the circle? That is my God, and I will uplift him. I will exalt him. God is in the center of that circle. And therefore we see that there is an important balance between the me and the us, the ani and the anachnu. Hillel, the great sage, said, Im ein ani li mili. If I am not for myself, who shall be for me? Uchshe'ani le'atzmi mani. But if I'm just for myself, then what am I? V'im lo achshav ematai. If not now and when, that's another topic. But this balance between the ani and the anachnu. So we have an army. Usually an army, the ani, the I, is insignificant. The person doesn't have a name, he's just another soldier, another number. But in the Jewish army, each person has a name, each person has a family, each person has a heritage, each person has their own identity, but that identity and their unique role in life is not for themselves, but it's for us. The flags of each of the tribes, proudly waving, help each individual to recognize to whom they are contributing their unique talents and gifts, and that is the march of Israel throughout all of history. So we are all equidistant from the center of that circle. There's nobody more or less important. Korach didn't get that. Korach didn't understand that. And just one more thought about the flag. You see, the state of Israel has a beautiful flag. And the great Rabbi Yosef Dov Soloveitchik was once asked, is there any halachic significance or holiness to this flag? Certainly it's an emotionally important thing, but is there any halachic thing? So the Rabbi Soloveitchik said, yes. There's a law that if a person was murdered, was killed, martyred, they are to be buried in the clothing that they were wearing at the time when they were killed. This is because the clothing themselves have become sanctified by this person giving their life. And so, too, the state of Israel, the flag of the state of Israel, has seen so many of our best and brightest give their lives so that it shall live. That flag certainly has the Kedusha, the sanctity of the clothing of the martyr who was killed. And therefore we have to revere and honor and respect the flag of the state of Israel. Jews invented the flags. The Torah is the source for the concept of a flag, and the flags of each of the Shvatim have a very important purpose, to remind us to take the uniqueness of me and dedicate it to the success of us as we march forward through history to change the world. Shavua Tov.